You ever feel like the world's pressing in, testing just how much you can take before you break? That's what it felt like for Ellie Harper, standing on the porch of her family's farm in Red Hollow, Tennessee, staring down a storm she never saw coming. The sun was sinking low, painting the fields in gold and shadow, when the growl of motorcycle engines tore through the quiet like a blade. Ellie wasn't new to hard days. Her hands were rough from years of working the land, her boots caked with the same dirt her granddaddy tilled decades ago. Red Hollow was her sanctuary, a slice of peace she and her husband, Cole Ramsey, carved out after he left the army. But that evening, as the air turned cool and the crickets fell silent, something felt off. She squinted toward the horizon, her gut twisting, and then she saw Ida's busted fence post, splintered clean through, with fresh tire tracks cutting deep into the soil. This wasn't some stray deer. Someone had been here, and they weren't trying to hide it. Ellie's phone buzzed in her pocket, snapping her out of her thoughts. It was Lila, her friend from town, voice sharp and breathless. "Ellie, you gotta listen to Meadow's Iron Vipers are back. They've been tearing through farms on the county line, shaking folks down for protection money. I heard they're eyeing your place next. Be careful." Ellie's heart sank, but she kept her voice steady. "Thanks, Lila. I'll handle it." She hung up, her eyes flicking back to the broken fence. The Iron Vipers, a biker gang that had been a shadow over these parts for years, preying on folks too isolated to fight back. She'd heard the stories, whispered in town like ghost tales, but now they were real, and they were on her land. Inside the farmhouse, the quiet was heavy, the kind that makes every creak sound like a warning. Ellie paced, her boots thudding against the worn floorboards, her mind racing. Cole was away, hauling equipment from a supplier 2 counties over. He'd be back tomorrow, maybe the day after, but tomorrow felt like a lifetime away. She stopped by the mantel, her fingers brushing an old photo of Cole in his uniform, all sharp edges and quiet strength. He'd seen things overseas, things he didn't talk about, things that left scars you couldn't see. That's what made him steady, unshakable, the kind of man who'd taught her to stand her ground. "Where the hell are you, Cole?" she muttered, half a prayer, half a plea. Then it came, the low, guttural roar of engines, closer this time, vibrating through the walls. Ellie froze, her pulse hammering as headlights sliced through the dusk. She peeked through the curtains, her breath catching. 5 bikes rolled up her driveway, chrome gleaming like knives in the fading light. The lead rider swung off his bike, big as a bear, his leather jacket marked with a snarling viper. She knew him from the rumors, Vance Crowley, the kind of guy who thought fear was his birthright. He sauntered toward the porch, his grin sharp enough to cut glass. "Nice place you got here, sweetheart," he called, his voice dripping with mock charm. "Be a shame if it got messy." Ellie squared her shoulders and stepped outside, her boots firm on the porch. "You're on my land, Vance," she said, voice steady despite the knot in her chest. "Turn around and get the hell out." The bikers laughed, low and mean, but Vance just tilted his head, sizing her up like prey. "You got fire, I'll give you that," he said, taking a step closer, his boots crunching gravel. "But this valley? It's ours now. Pay up, or we'll take what we want." Ellie's hands clenched into fists. "You don't scare me," she shot back, "and you're not taking a damn thing." That's when she heard a dirt bike sputter in the distance. It was Nate, the kid from the Miller farm down the road, barely 17, but tough as nails. He'd shown up after Lila's call, insisting on helping. "Mrs. Harper, I'm not letting you face these punks alone," he'd said, his voice cracking but his eyes set. Now he stood by the barn, a crowbar in his hand, watching the Vipers like a hawk. Ellie gave him a nod, grateful for the backup, but wishing he'd stayed home. This wasn't his fight, not yet. Vance smirked, glancing at Nate. "What's this, a babysitter?" he taunted. "You think a kid and a farmer's wife can stop us?" Ellie didn't flinch. "Last chance," she said, her voice cold as steel. "Leave, or you'll regret it." Vance laughed, but there was a flicker of doubt in his eyes. He waved a hand, and the Vipers peeled out, their engines roaring as they vanished into the night. But Ellie knew better than to think it was over. That was just the opening act. By dawn, she and Nate were already at work, hammering planks over the busted fence, stringing barbed wire tight enough to draw blood. Nate was quick, his hands steady despite the fear in his eyes. "You think they'll come back tonight?" he asked, wiping sweat from his brow. Ellie didn't look up from the wire she was twisting. "They're not done," she said. "Vance wants this land probably to strong-arm the whole valley into paying him. But he's underestimating us." She paused, glancing at Nate. "You don't have to stay, you know." He shook his head, a stubborn glint in his eyes. "My mom's farm is next. If we don't stop him here, they'll come for us too." They worked through the day, rigging cowbells to the fences, setting lanterns to light up the shadows, turning the farm into a fortress. Ellie's hands ached, her back screamed, but every nail she drove felt like a promisito coal, to herself, to this land. She wasn't just fighting for her home. She was fighting for everything they'd built, every late night spent fixing fences, every sunrise over fields they'd sown together. The Vipers thought they could roll in and take it all. They had no idea who they were messing with. Night fell heavy, the air thick with tension. Ellie sat on the porch, a shotgun across her lap, the weight of it grounding her. Nate was inside, keeping watch from the upstairs window. The lanterns flickered, casting pools of light across the yard, but beyond them, the darkness felt alive, watching. Then it came a faint clink from the back gate, like metal on wood. Ellie's heart jumped, but she kept her breathing steady. "Nate," she whispered through the open window, "you hear that?" His voice came back, low and tense. "Yeah, it's them." She grabbed a flashlight and crept toward the barn, the shotgun steady in her hands. The beam caught a glint of wire dangling from the gate. Someone had been testing it. Then a low chuckle drifted from the shadows, chilling her to the bone. They were playing with her, trying to wear her down. Ellie spun around, her lights sweeping the yard, but the shadows gave nothing away. "Come out, you cowards," she muttered under her breath, her fear turning to fury. Back on the porch, Nate was waiting, his face pale. "They're messing with us," he said, gripping his crowbar. "Trying to scare us." Ellie nodded, her jaw tight. "They think we'll crack. They're wrong." She spread out Cole's old property map, pointing to the weak spots: gate, barn, creek bed. "We'll rig more bells, more wire. If they want to come at us, they'll have to work for it." Nate's eyes flicked to the map, then back to her. "You sound like my brother," he said softly. "He used to say you don't win by being louder, just smarter." Ellie gave him a small smile. "Your brother's right." The real fight came at midnight. The roar of engines shook the valley, headlights blazing as the Vipers charged down the driveway. No more games, this was war. Ellie stood her ground on the porch, the shotgun raised, as Vance dismounted, his grin gone, replaced by a cold glare. "Time's up, Harper," he shouted. "This farm's ours." Ellie didn't blink. "Over my dead body," she shot back, firing a warning shot into the dirt at his feet. The blast echoed, and Vance froze, his crew hesitating behind him. Then chaos erupted. Two Vipers hit the barn, yanking at the chains. Nate leaned out the window and hurled a can of old paint, splattering their boots and slowing them down. "Take that, you punks," he yelled, a wild grin breaking through his fear. Ellie swung her shotgun toward the fence, where another biker was caught in the barbed wire, cursing as the bells clanged. She fired another warning shot, sending him scrambling back. But the barn was in trouble. Flames licked up from a hay bale, the sharp sting of gasoline in the air. They were trying to burn her out. "Duck!" Ellie shouted, grabbing a bucket of water and sprinting toward the fire. Nate was right behind her, ignoring her orders to stay put. Together, they doused the flames, the heat scorching their faces, smoke choking their lungs. The fire hissed and died, leaving the barn scarred but standing. Ellie spun around, shotgun raised, just in time to see Vance on the hill, watching like a king overseeing a siege. Their eyes locked, and he pointed at her, his voice carrying over the chaos. "This ain't over, Harper." Then he revved his engine and rode off, his crew following like shadows into the night. Ellie stood there, chest heaving, the shotgun trembling in her hands. Nate stumbled up beside her, coughing. "We did it," he gasped. "We held them off." Ellie shook her head, her eyes still on the road. "For now," she said, her voice hard. "They'll be back." Just then, a new engine rumbled, a familiar one. Headlights swept across the yard as Cole's pickup truck roared up the drive. He was out of the cab before it even stopped, his boots hitting the ground with a thud. "Ellie," he called, his voice rough with worry. She ran to him, the shotgun clattering to the porch as she threw her arms around him. "You're here," she whispered, her voice breaking. Cole held her tight, his eyes scanning the scorched barn, the busted fences. You held the fort, he said, pride and fury mixing in his voice. Now it's my turn. He turned to Nate, clapping a hand on his shoulder. You stepped up, kid. I won't forget it. Nate managed a tired grin, but Cole's face was stone as he looked out at the dark. Vance thinks he can take what's ours, he said, his voice low, dangerous. He's about to learn what happens when you cross a Ramsey. The night stretched on, but the air felt different now, charged with something stronger than fear. Ellie and Cole stood side by side on the porch, Nate at their backs, the farm battered but unbowed. The Vipers thought they could break them, thought a lone woman and a kid were easy prey. They were wrong. This wasn't just about a farm, it was about family, about standing your ground when the world tries to knock you down. And the Harpers? They weren't going anywhere. But here's the thing, Vance and his crew didn't just vanish. They're out there, licking their wounds, planning their next move. Ellie and Cole know it's not over, and neither does Red Hollow. The town's whispering now, some saying Ellie should have paid up, others calling her a hero. What do you think? Was Ellie right to fight, or should she have played it safe? Have you ever had to stand up to someone who thought they could take what's yours? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear your stories, your fights, your victories. And if this hit home, smash that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell for more stories like this. We're Heartland Tales, bringing you the grit and heart of everyday heroes. Where you watching from? Let me know, and I'll see you tomorrow with another story that'll make you feel something real.